A little disclaimer for this video, I had a lot of microphone issues and my microphone stopped working, so I had to record the rest of the video on a headset, and we missed the first few minutes of audio, so I am going to try my best to record this as if it were live for the first 5 minutes where I didn't have audio, and then the rest of it will play as it aired. So let's jump right into it. This is the USTA Beginner TAC Tournament of 2021. The first one, there might be another one later on the year, but this is in February right now. This is the playoffs, the second match of the playoffs. It's basically the semifinals. This is between alpacascreed and Ineria. Ineria just came off their win against TravWest in the previous match, and Alpaca kind of got the bump up to this second round just by random luck. But it is double elimination. So if Ineria wins, Ineria goes on to the finals. If Alpaca wins, Alpaca goes on to the finals. But then whoever loses goes down and faces TravWest. And then whoever wins against TravWest, if it's TravWest or if it's whoever loses this, they go on to face the winner of this match. And if that makes zero sense, it's double elimination with 3 people. And hopefully you can figure out from that. And here we go right into all the action. Okay, so we see a corner played. Let's see if an area decides to place us in adjacent corners or opposite corners. We have been seeing adjacent corners a lot more often lately, and we do get adjacent. And we're likely going to see some center play and some mirrored play. Just that mirrored opening that we're seeing a lot of these days. It's sort of the meta for 6x6. Right around here or the next turn is where you'll see a deviation, where black will place either at D5 or down at D1, something like that. Or they'll place a capstone over on E4 or E3. And that's where you'll get to see a lot of that. And that's where you'll see that transition from vertical threat to a horizontal threat occur. So we're going to take our time and see what Ineria decides to do here in terms of defensive play. Does place the capstone there at E4. Now, Alpaca has a number of options here. One of the options, which is a really interesting one, and one that I think I saw from Ineria in the past, would be to capture over onto C4 instead and isolate that black capstone. Doesn't do that, though. Instead, goes to basically continue that vertical threat that was basically done. And so now we want to see maybe a play at E4 would probably be good to cut off that horizontal action, but instead we see E3. Not super great because black can just continue on to E4 and start going for that horizontal threat, and that kind of works in their favor. And so yeah, so basically just gets to keep going. I think we'll probably see white place something like F4 to stop that, and they do place right there at F4. White can, or black can in this case, maybe play around them at F5, play up at E5, play down at F3. All of those are basically doing the same thing. You might want to do something maybe at F3 or at F5 first, though, specifically because you've got that vertical threat working for white. And so being able to cut that off and work in an offensive way on your own roads, that's a key. That's the key to a good move, being offensive and defensive at the same time, shutting down your opponent and working yourself closer to your own road. And so we're going to see, yep, they place her up there at F5. That does cut into that vertical road threat. Also does make a partial connection for the horizontal. Now white's going to checkerboard this, and they've given themselves an opportunity to come in here and basically capture over and start making these threats. Maybe trying to push black into capturing, but instead with the capstone. But instead, black captures down onto F4 with F5, and what that does is that creates that horizontal threat action. But then white might place a wall or a capstone. There's the capstone right there at F5, ready to come down and capture on that stack. Now, black's got a number of options here. They can just sort of delay and maybe just drop a flat maybe at C5. And just continue going for that horizontal threat and hope that they can save themselves with walls against that vertical threat, or they can maybe drop a preemptive wall down at E2 to stop that vertical threat from doing anything. If they do drop a wall down at E2, white will most likely move across at C5 and start going for that horizontal threat. But that capstone being way off to the side against that wall would kind of isolate it from play and keep it from being such a big factor. And so might not be such a bad decision to place that wall there at E2 and stop that from happening. So we're going to see what happens instead. Maybe they'll play at E2. Yeah, we're going to see. Oh, we see black capture do a self-capture. So this self-capture is actually pretty huge because it keeps that capstone from coming down and capturing that stack. Keeps that big stack away from the capstone. Keeps it from being such a powerful piece. Instead, white now can recapture that stack, but then black can just recapture that with their own capstone. So there's a lot that black did here with just that one move. And so it's interesting to see what they'll do next. So white in response might play a wall at f4, might play a flat at f4. A flat at f4 would still be a attack threat. So yeah, flat here at f4 is still a attack threat. What will they do in response? Probably throwing the stack down onto e3 and e2 is probably the best bet right here. Oh my goodness. Okay, so my microphone is having some problems and I'm gonna have to return it and get a new one. Okay, so I'm sorry about that. Black made a self-capture here to avoid the capstone capturing the stack. I apologize for the audio issues, folks. That's a problem. I'll keep an eye on that and make sure that doesn't keep happening. Okay, so jumping back over would work, but right now this is attack threat for white. Capturing or coming down. All right, okay. So my fancy nice microphone decides to give out on me, so I've got to use my headset mic. Sorry about that, folks. This is probably the best move that black could have made in that situation because it was attack threat. It needed to be stopped. Capturing back over here onto f4 would have caused the capstone to come over and get that nice stack. So that was a good move. I like that. That can just be led to an easy recapture from black, which I think is the good move here because getting that, yeah, it's definitely the move is to recapture, probably leading to a wall placed, maybe here, um, wanting to recapture that stack. And black really isn't in doesn't really have an opportunity to respond to that in a good way. So I think a wall here at d2 would be a pretty strong move because it has nowhere to go at that point. It can't go down. It can't really go back up. It wouldn't be effective in either spot. So I think dropping a wall right here on d2 would probably be the best move for white. Okay, white does drop a flat next to it, which is an interesting move. And I can see how they're going for maybe this vertical threat or just to recapture this. I'm a little confused by that move. I feel like they really wanted a wall there to recapture that stack. But again, this is the beginner tournament, and so Alpaca I know has been playing I think for less than a month. So that's definitely a factor in these players' games and how they play this. Recapturing that, I'm not sure if that's the move I would have gone for. I probably would have placed here at d2 for black. Um, but maybe recapturing is the move. Not sure. Now I can see black going for a horizontal threat pretty easily here, placing here on B2, and then A2, and then being able to throw that capstone down to capture is good. Here though, now that this flat is placed at F3, it's ready to capture. I mean, I would have just dropped a flat here to recapture that, but a wall would definitely make it a lot more secure, that's for sure. And definitely keep this from being taken by another wall or something else. So, flat coming down at D2 here from white. This is a tack threat. Placing here at E3 would be tack. And that can be hard to see. We'll see if Ineria notices that and what their response is going to be to it. Now, what I like is coming over, capturing with this flat here, and then when the inevitable recapture occurs, tossing the capstone down. I feel like that's probably a decent move, and I think that could lead to an advantage for black at some point, but white is kind of controlling this at the moment. I liked black's positioning at first, but white does have a bit of a stranglehold on this game. And we do see black place here at E3. That does stop the immediate tack threat. We're likely to see a flat placed here at E4, or maybe a capture over onto E3, something like that, in order to further this. It's interesting. We'll see what white does in response. White taking their time. We do see the time is pretty even, about a minute in between both players. We do see another tack threat from white placing here at E4, ready to come back down and make that threat, or come over, make that threat. So black responding here can do a number of things. Some better than others. I even like bringing the capstone down, to be honest. Bringing it down here onto D3. Then you've got that sort of connection here, ready to keep going for that horizontal threat. And it can't really be cut off by this point because you got the wall to come back over, recapture, and come back off of it when necessary and when needed. So I like that. I like coming down with the cap. Coming over is also fine because it does still create that horizontal threat, just not as multi-pronged anymore. Now this is where I would expect white to kind of give up on this vertical threat and start moving towards the horizontal, because they've got a lot to get through in order to get to this spot. They've got to make multiple captures and placements in order to do that. And so it's more effective to start going across here horizontally and dealing with this stuff. So maybe dropping a wall here could help with both things. It could help in number one, stopping this from happening, this horizontal, and coming back over, capturing this stack. So a wall here on C3 would probably be pretty good. I do know a lot of folks shy away from placing walls, especially as white, but they can be very strong offensive pieces, even though they don't count as part of a road. No Hat Coder is, as one of the top players, has definitely shown that walls can be very strong offensive pieces and can be used to your advantage. Fwib also does that pretty well. Or, as his name is probably properly pronounced, Fwib. I think I got that right. I don't know. Anyway, so white is taking their time here. Taking a bit over a minute on this turn so far, trying to decide what it is they're going to do. Both players taking quite a bit of time. I know that the previous game they played fairly quickly, at least in the beginning. This one, both players are taking quite a bit of time on each of their moves. And this is a 15-minute base time limit with 10 seconds added per turn. You can see the wheels turning in Alpaca's head as he tries to figure out where to go with this. Coming over with the capture. I definitely expect that to be recaptured, probably by the flat on E3. It makes the most sense to me. You could see after that maybe a wall on E1 or something like that in response, but if there is a wall on D2, that's not super effective because the capstone can come down and smash it. Sure, they would leave a stack behind, but it wouldn't be able to go down because the capstone would be blocking it there. So overall, I like that. I like that recapture move, E3 down. I feel like that was effective. I'm not quite sure what White was planning on doing, what they were trying to eke out, because I feel like that's the obvious move. So it's interesting that they're taking their time here to figure out what they should be doing now, since I would expect them to have thought about what their response to this particular move would have been, unless they were expecting this big stack to come over, which is the other option. Okay, so wall does go down here at E3, ready to stop this. Capstone can't immediately smash it, so that's good. You can take this stack, throw it over, maybe. Drop 2 onto D2 and drop 2 onto C2. That's a way to get away from the wall. Wall can come over and capture this stack, but then this capstone can immediately smash it. Okay, so we do see black make that throw, keep that stack away from that wall. That does hurt the position of black for going for this horizontal threat, though. So now they're going to have to stick to the vertical, probably placing here at C1 or placing here at C5 to keep that going. Overall, the wall here at E3 was a pretty good move. I liked it. I think the wall at E3 is much better than the wall at E1. So yeah, it's a good wall. We see that come over. Will black smash it? That is the question. Hard to resist a good capstone smash. It would leave behind one white flat here onto D4, but that doesn't really lead to any immediate threats, so black doesn't have to worry about that. White already has this built out for horizontally. It wouldn't really extend that positioning anymore. But this wall stack coming down, recapturing and basically freeing these captives, not something you want to happen. Because moving this wall down here has the option after that point to capture this stack and free those captives, or capture this stack to free that captive. So you probably want to take care of this wall sooner rather than later. The other option is to build here at E2 and wait for the wall to come down, and then you can smash it afterwards to continue that. So opted for the first option to smash that wall ahead of time. Probably a smart play. But I do like playing here also. So if black had, for example, placed here, you can see this wall stack come down and then immediately get smashed to create that partial road threat. Okay, and so we see this smash happen, and then White saying, okay, fine, I'll start going for that horizontal road that you weren't letting me do earlier. White's building across. I wouldn't be surprised to see black start playing something here at b5. Black does need to get more flats on the board. Currently at a pretty significant flat detriment. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 flats from white to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flats to black. Interesting to play here at c4 instead of up here at b5. Think I know why, though. I think we're going to see black take this capstone stack and throw it up, spreading out, dropping a black flat here. So bottom two, and then, yep, just like I was trying to explain, they did it before I could even say it. And so that's going to create a partial threat again, not a threat, but a threat in one more move. Placing here at D6 or placing down here at C1. I like the D6 placement a little bit better. I would not be surprised to see a capture occur or a placement here. A placement here at D6 would be pretty good. Followed from white. Black would then probably place at C6 to come over with the capstone, make that connection. Or you could see white capture here onto D4 with E4. And so we do see white place here at D6. Placing so strong, much stronger than capturing in a lot of situations, but not all situations, as we have already seen this game. Black placing then at C6 to make that threat by capturing over with the capstone. Now, white can do a number of things here. Capturing up is the obvious one, what I was thinking about doing, because capturing up, then you can place here at E6 as white and continue on going for that horizontal threat going around that capstone. Black, on the other hand, might just want to play here. Okay, I was thinking of flat there at C5. The flat at C5 would have allowed the capstone to self-capture onto that on the very next turn, because we wouldn't be able to make that self-capture and then be able to come up and capture up onto C6. And what that would have done is it would have created this more concrete tack threat. It would have been really hard for white to stop. But instead, black's going to take this wall, move it up here onto C6, and basically free that captive. Not a bad play also. Currently no tack threat from either player. Black placing here at C1, probably a good move. I like that. Yeah, I do like that. White is in trouble here. Black's got a pretty strong position. White needs to, because there's no tack threat from black now, white needs to probably drop a wall or something right here. That's going to be their play, dropping a wall on D3. Then they can capture up, they can capture over, they can capture down, do something like that. Capturing up or over would disrupt any threat that black can do. So yeah, a wall on D3 is probably their best bet to surviving this, because if not, they would be stuck with a Tinue situation. So we do see white dropping that wall there on D3. Black coming up with that wall stack, making that threat, seeing how black responds. Because black, if white captures this stack here with the wall, black cannot smash it or they will give up the win. So now black is in a predicament because black can't smash this. This stack can run free off to that side and almost make a connection to B5 to make that that road, but not quite. So it is not a attack threat from white, but it is a pretty strong position. They can even bring it down, capture this, threaten both that stack and that stack, while at the same time making a really strong position. So black needs to do something here to keep that from happening. If black does place here at c5, it will force the horizontal movement of this stack. And then white won't be able to take this wall stack and move it down to really further disrupt things and make a lot of noise for late game. And I feel like forcing the horizontal move is the best move to make here, because this would be so devastating, and I'm wondering if there would be a way to come back from it. So I think you would have to place. Oh, okay, that also works. I think that moving it over would have been a little bit more effective. But just dropping the flat here onto c5, again, it is stronger often to place than to move, especially since he's not capturing anything. He's just placing the wall there. So I feel like just placing a flat here onto c5 would help their flat count and would help stop any issues from happening. Okay, so this is interesting. So white has taken this stack to be able to move it down and to stop this threat from happening. Black doesn't want to smash this because moving this stack downward is going to be really hard to come back from for black. But after that happens, they won't be able to chase it with their own capstone, a hard cap even, because doing so would leave behind a road for white. So it would essentially pin themselves. So this is a tough one for black. They're in a really, really tough position. I'm not quite sure how to get out of this one for black. Hmm. So we do see black taking this stack and throwing it over to avoid the capture from the big stack of white. White taking this flat, placing it here to create a attack threat by moving this stack over, making that horizontal threat that direction. Black tossing up this stack to stop that from happening. I like that. I like that series of moves. That was really strong from black. I like it a lot. Hmm. How is white going to respond here? Doesn't want to give a big stack here on this spot for black to capture, because they can capture down, because this wall does keep this capstone from being pinned. So they are able to do that. Hmm. Okay, so all right, so we see just a placement here at b4 to continue that attack threat instead. So the attack threat is live yet again, dropping one white. Oh no, it's not live. Sorry, it's one away. Now there's attack threat from black. White is unable to create attack threat at this moment. They can create attack threat, but they can't win at this moment. So black placing definitely does force white to respond here in some way to stop this threat, because placing or capturing over onto d6 with c6 would be a road. I'm interested to see what white does here to stop this. And again, we are on time, so we've got 4.5 minutes to 5 minutes and 20 seconds, it looks like. So pretty close in terms of how much time each player has. I have really enjoyed. Ooh, okay, so the capture occurs. This is where I expect the smash. Okay, and we do get the smash, and that is very close to Tinue. It's not because this can come over and capture C1, but if that weren't there, oh man, that would have been a Tinue move right there. But either way, it's pretty dang close. Um, hmm. Will black place here at D2 to go for that horizontal threat? Can they do it? Do they have the count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3. Yes, they do. And there's the road, horizontal road. Excellently played from Ineria. Well played from Alpaca too. I mean, this was a pretty solid game. Good back and forth. Both players really had some great threats and did some great pinning moves. It was a lot of fun to see this back and forth where both players were in control of the game at one point. But then that last move, making the smash and then placing here, it was harder to see that spread move from black to see that road. So excellently played, both players. Congratulations, Ineria, on the first game of this 2-game match in the playoffs. Ineria winning as black. And let's see if Ineria can repeat this on white. If Ineria does win this, Ineria will go on to be in the finals. Alpaca will then play TravWest. If, however, Alpaca wins the next game as black, then they will go into a Blitz playoff game. The Blitz game is a 3-minute game with a 5-second increment, which is very fast, and they would play 2 games of that, and then the winner of those 2 games would then move on to the finals. But if there's a tie still after those 2 Blitz matches, 2 Blitz games, then they would just continue playing Blitz pairs of Blitz games until one person emerges victorious. Okay, so we see this mirrored opening yet again. Ineria this time in white, Alpaca in black. This is someone, okay, we're seeing just this continuation. Where will black play for the deviation? Will they play down here at D1? Will they play at D6? Will they drop a capstone here at E4? E4 capstone or E3 capstone is going to be like the standard moves that we see in the meta right now. I mean, doesn't mean that they're the best moves to make. It just means that they're very common at this point of play. I'm not sure who came up with this sort of pattern, but people tend to just follow this, and it's interesting because these sort of responses are all learned. Um, but after a certain point, right around move 6, 7, 8 is when you'll start to see deviations from this opening pattern, and then we'll see individual plays start to really shine. It's interesting that we've gotten to that point that there is this set meta for 6s, so it's fun. Okay, white going around, making that horizontal now. Okay, I like where they're going with this. They do have that momentum, and I've talked about this before in a lot of these beginner matches games. When someone makes this deviation, instead of just going off to the side where they would have an advantage, they keep building this threat and just wait for the capture to occur. And so building off to the side keeps that momentum and keeps them going in the direction they want to go. So they do have that momentum, whether it's short term or long term, hard to say. It's definitely their short term. We do see black place here at a5 to stop that vertical, but now we'll see probably white play up here at b6. Now that would make that vertical threat, but it would also make way for that a6 placement to start going for that horizontal threat at the same time. Instead, they're going to play here at a4, probably just going for that that capture, which is interesting. I liked the b6 a lot more. It would have forced this capture to occur, but they probably maybe they just don't want that to happen. They don't want that capture to occur yet, because after capturing here, they'll be able to jump up onto this spot. Okay, and so they went for it anyway. Black does make that capture, comes over onto that vertical line of white. Now, white hasn't played their capstone yet, and I was about to say b3 would be a really great spot. It keeps happening. Ineria keeps beating me to the punch. So the reason why b3 is a pretty good spot is because the capstone can come up and capture onto b4, or the capstone can come over and capture onto c3. Now, the reason b4 is good is because it works for that horizontal threat at the same time as cutting off black's horizontal threat, and it cuts off the vertical threat from black. But white capturing over into c3 is good because it basically isolates this capstone, keeps it from doing any offensive good. And so that's one way to get around that. I like isolating the capstone, but I can see the capstone just moving up, and then that doesn't play as well. So I like moving the capstone up here to b4 the best. That's my favorite play right now from white, because it does, like I said, go for that horizontal. Not a threat yet, but it does make the momentum towards that. And so that would make the connection. It would cut off the horizontal threat and the vertical threat building at the same time. Because we do see black building out here at e3, trying to make that connection at f3 so they can capture down with a5 to a4, make that road. And I apologize if I'm speaking too quickly. To follow, I will try to slow down. Okay, so we do see white, instead of capturing, they place here at e4, immediately followed by f3, which was attack threat from black. Now it's attack threat for white, making this horizontal threat here. Now, black, I'm assuming, sees this tack threat and is going to do something about it. If not, it would not be surprising to see black place here, for example, at b2 for that tack threat. But they have to respond in some way, whether by placing here at f4, by capturing somewhere, whether with the capstone or with a flat. There's got to be some move that occurs here to stop this. I feel like f4 is probably going to be the strongest overall, at least immediately. After that, though, the capstone moving up to d4 is probably going to have to happen. I don't know if I see a way out for black without capturing up to d4 with the capstone, because white, again, right now can just play at e5. and that renews the attack threat and creates a citadel here, which is a really powerful formation. A citadel is a 2x2 square of your friendly pieces, and it looks just like this. So black now has to respond to this knowing that this citadel is here and that it's going to be really difficult to combat. Combat? Something pronounced like that. Now, if black decides to place here at f5 to stop that, white then may place at e6. And if white places at e6, then black can place at f6, create their own attack threat vertically. Then e6 comes over to f6 and basically creates very close to a Tinue, because capturing down would be it, and capturing over 2 onto this would be it. So white would have to, or black would have to capture up onto c5 in order to stop that. We do see black make that move here from a5 over to b5 to stop this attack threat from continuing. Now, this is important because this stops white's threat long enough that white can't reestablish the threat immediately, which means that on the next turn, black can establish the threat immediately. So if white, for example, captured up here onto b5 with the capstone, it would not be attack threat, and black would be able to place here at b2 or at b3 or at b1 and make this attack threat, which would then be able to be stopped, but it wouldn't maintain that momentum. And so we've got white renewing the attack threat immediately by making this move. I'm not a big fan of that move. While it does retain the attack threat, I'm not a huge fan of it in the long run. Like immediately, yes, it is a good move, but I think in the long run, probably would have wanted to move the capstone up. And then stopped this threat another way. The citadel is also gone now. E6 might be the move here. Playing f6 instead. Okay. I do like e6 better. Planning on that corner capture, that's a really strong move, especially with these two here in the connection. I like that move a little bit better. But this does force this capture f5 over to e5, and then e4 comes up, captures, makes that pattern. Then it will have to be either b5 coming over to c5 or this capstone being thrown all the way up to d5. If you followed that, well done. If you didn't, you're probably normal. I'm sorry for trying to explain all this ahead of time. Okay, so we do see the stack come over, which is expected. This is where I want to see this capture occur. I want to see c4 go up here to c5. It's not attack threat, but it's such a strong stack at that point that it's going to be really hard for black to stop it. Because white coming up here with this stack allows it to come down and immediately disrupt any horizontal road threat black makes, while at the same time creating a vertical road threat. And to show you what I mean by that, I'm just going to open this up real quick. Sorry, people, this is another view. So if they do this, for example, and black decides to continue their threat like this, white does this move. And that creates a attack threat and stops the immediate attack threat of black. If they instead decide to place a wall here, it's not too big of a problem. White can take this and move it along like that and still create that threat, or they can decide to smash it, do something like that. So back to this game. Looks like I didn't miss anything. White decided to place instead of capture here instead. Does make a attack threat still. Capturing down. Okay. And we see Black's capstone finally does come up. This is why I really wanted this stack to capture here onto c5. It would have been so strong. Instead, now we see it come up. And this is not attack threat here. And Black can't make an immediate attack threat on this turn. They may want to drop a wall here. While it would mess up their own thing going on, I feel like not being able to throw this stack down is probably something they want to happen. Yeah, and so the wall does drop there at c4. So will White spread this across to a5? Probably. I know that Ineria has done a lot of moves to keep their stacks from being captured by walls or capstones in the past, in past games that I've seen. So it wouldn't surprise me. Okay, so White's got to make the decision here. Are they going to move this over? Are they going to smash the wall? Gonna smash the wall. Okay. That is a fun play. I like it. I can see Black doing something here, placing off to this side maybe. Ooh. All right, all right. Placing the wall really wants that stack. White can leave behind this black flat and capture here. Ooh, I would have left behind the black flat personally because the hard capstone would have allowed for a stronger threat. While it would have left stuff behind for Black to do, it wouldn't have been too tough to counter. So I feel like that would have been stronger to have that hard capstone. But capturing and leaving behind a flat with your capstone, making that hard cap, is a lot less intuitive for newer players, so it's not something you will likely see in these beginner tournaments. Black coming over, keeping White from moving down and making that spread, making that very positive flat move. So now White's got to decide what to do in this situation. And it's a tough call. I can see taking this stack. Can they move the whole stack? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They can move almost the whole stack. They got a 7 stack here. So they can take the top 6, leaving 1 white behind, leave a white, and then have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The top 5 land here. White building at d3 to keep that horizontal threat from occurring, and also working on their own vertical threat. You'll see this pattern a lot where Black will make a horizontal threat, White will make a vertical threat, or vice versa, as long as they're opposite, because that allows them to interrupt each other's roads while at the same time making their own. It's not too common that you'll see both players going for a vertical threat at the same time, at least not in the mid game or late game. At the very beginning, they're often going in the same direction, but that typically changes right before we head into the mid game section of each TAC match, or TAC game rather. Okay, so Ineria going to make their move. Where are they going to play? Are they going to go for maybe e2? Are they going to make the connection to d1? They are going to take that that stack move over with the capstone. Keep that involved. I like that move. I like getting it out there. It definitely keeps things interesting. And it's just a solid play. This capstone is going to be tempted to come in and throw to stop something from happening here. So this is where I think you're going to want e6 to be played for white. White's going to want that to happen. Black here, on the other hand, has a couple options. They can move their capstone down, which might work. That might be okay. Or they can make some captures over, or they can place, to be honest. They can place here at e2, or placing here at d4 would be a bad move just because it can get immediately recaptured by this double stack. Tough call for what's a good move here for black, because black doesn't have too many options. They are going to go for this play here, making this anchor point at a1 actually work for them in that horizontal road direction. They can't make attack threat yet, but they can on the next move. Now this is where I expect to see something from white, where white maybe plays here at e6. Not attack threat, but setting up for one on the next turn. White instead playing there. I mean, it does make a little bit of sense. It is going towards that direction, that vertical threat again. Black does make the tag threat, capturing over with the capstone, does create that threat by capturing down. White can respond in a few ways. They can do a few captures that will stop this from happening. They do have to capture here. They won't be able to stop this by placement. So they can move the capstone down, they can move this flat down, they can move this flat over, they can move this flat over here, they can move this flat over here. All of those options do stop this immediate tag threat. But what Ineria has to do is figure out which one stops the tag threat, moves them in a better offensive position, and works out best for the end game. I feel like capturing one of these would probably work the best. The reason being, okay, that also does work pretty well. I like that. It does work in the same direction. It can't really be interrupted too much. Yeah, I'd say that was a good play. And we do see that both players have quite a few flat reserves. So this game isn't close to ending by flats at this point. There's still plenty of game left to play to decide who will be victorious here. And both players, while somewhat close to roads, aren't close enough that we can say who's going to win for sure. They both have pretty solid positions. They're about even. I might give the position to... It's tough because it looks like black's got a better spot, but white's got this capstone stack that is pretty strong. And so I might give the position to white at this point. It looks like the flat count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So black does have the flat advantage here. Also important to note, this tournament is not being played with Komi. Komi is a concept taken from Go, where you basically add imaginary points to black's flat score to basically mitigate any first player advantage there might be. Did not do that for the beginner tournament because, well, it's a beginner tournament. And so the odds of these games going to a flat score are much slimmer than the higher skill level games. We do see black plays here at f2, basically solidifying that position, making more options, making a road. Probably on the next turn you'll see black place at e2 so that he can throw the capstone down. White saying, I want none of that. I'm going to place at e2 and move more towards that vertical threat at the same time. Now, capturing onto this spot for black, like maybe capturing over, might not be too bad because it could force the capstone to move down a little bit, and that might work in your favor as black. Might not at the same time. Actually, you'd probably want to capture here. Yeah, you'd want to capture at E3 to force a response either from E2 or from E4. It'd likely be from E2. If it was from the capstone, it would be probably pretty negative because black could come over and capture the stack with 2 black captives underneath and get a stronger way from that. Also, at the same time, make their own tack threat. So, don't want to do that. So, black could make that move. E3 left. Black could also decide to ignore what's going on there or place a wall here or here. Could just move the capstone over just automatically. Basically ruin this whole vertical threat that's going on and start working on that horizontal threat again. I think that's probably what black wants to do, is move over here to E4. Instead, placing down below. White gonna make their attack threat, so this is a connection here at D1. Going up here, placing at E6, capturing up with the capstone stack or capturing over to the right with the capstone stack would also make a road. Black captures up onto E2, makes their own attack threat, a little bit sneaky. Throwing that capstone down onto D2 would be a road. This is easy to miss, especially for these beginner players who are proving that they're not quite so beginner in terms of skill level, as they are showing pretty solid play, pretty solid tactics and strategy. We do see white does see that tack threat, captures over. This is where you'll probably see black capture from F2 over onto E2. This stack just can't be left alone. It's got to be taken care of somehow. Now from there, that's going to be interesting how white decides to play this. Will they take this whole capstone stack, move it down? Will they take this stack, move it down? What's going to happen here? They will take that smaller stack and move it down. And that makes this big stack. You can expect a wall from black to be played somewhere around here, maybe here on E3. I would not be surprised to see a wall from black there. Not making a wall, making their tack threat by placing it D3. Very strange. Not sure what their plan is here. So they could expect white to place here at E3, which is what I would do in this situation. And then black can move this capstone over to E4 to threaten the road and this big stack. But then the big stack can move over and stop the road and not get taken by the capstone at the same time. So I'm not quite sure what placing at D3 does here for black. Not too sure about that. Because it feels like E3 is just going to work out in white's advantage. Black does have 10 flats showing. White has 8 flats showing. Does have a plus, let's see, +3 move available. White has a number of moves that will increase their flats in the next few moves if they need to, but again, they have plenty of reserves. White is going to make White is going to make that play at e3. Again, this is not attack threat, but it is close to one. Curious as to what Black's plan is here. Are they going to move that capstone over here onto e4? Because that would be attack threat. Or are they going to do something else? Because I am a little stumped. I would say White is in control here. Got this stack, got quite a bit going on for him. Black can respond, I mean, with a wall here. A wall here at e3 would have been better instead of placing at d3. But no, gonna make that capture. Making this a attack threat, 2 ways. I can see this stack just plunking over a couple flats, the top 3 moving over, retaining control of 2 more. And that's how I see that going. I don't really know, unless Black's just trying to get this capstone to move down so they can capture what's left behind. I'm not quite sure what else they're thinking. Yeah, coming over and capturing up onto e3 seems like the obvious move. We see Ineria taking their time because they're thinking, well, that's the obvious move that I want to make here. What are they trying to trap me into doing? Ooh, we see the capstone come down. Very surprised to see that move because I'm not sure why they would do it. Other than that it's unexpected. Like, are they going to start going for a horizontal road? What's the plan here? This is another tack threat from Black. Placing up here, capturing down would be tack, or capturing over. As long as it's capturing e4 with a piece that isn't the capstone, it would be a tack threat. So White does have to respond to that. I can see them responding by capturing up with one of these. Throwing these 2 over would be my bet, because that's a great move. And hey, look, they listened. Well, they didn't listen, because they're not listening, and they didn't have... We're on a 20-second delay. They didn't know. So, we see that happen. Now we're going to see, it's got to happen, the capstone finally come over here onto e4. Don't feel like he can put it off any longer. That's what needs to occur. Because this is attack threat from White. Capstone coming over would be attack threat that would need to be responded to. And if he captures over with this flat instead, that's an easy tinue for White, and that would be the game. So don't want to capture with this f4 flat. Definitely want to capture with the capstone. That's basically his only move at this point. In fact, it is Alpaca's only move to not lose on this turn or the next. So we'll see if he sees it. And hopefully he's not watching the stream. I don't think he is. At least I don't see his name on there. Okay, he does make the capture. That is a tack threat. It does stop the tack threat. Will we see White move this stack over and eliminate it? Will we see? Because I want this stack to move. I don't want this stack to move. The capstone moving over would allow this capstone to move down and capture this stack. So this stack moving over and stopping this would be the move to play. Or just placing a wall here from White would be just funny to me. because it would pin the capstone, stop it from smashing, because smashing would lead to a loss. So that's always fun. Oh, and I was wrong. Moving F4 up to F5 would have also stopped it and not led to an immediate loss. So I did see that just now. And we do see white place that wall. That's fun. I like that. We'll see if it leads to a mishap on black's part of smashing that wall. Black building up here, placing more flats. Black does still have the flat lead at this point, but that can change fairly quickly. I think we're going to see white play on E1 on the next turn, because it will allow this whole stack to be thrown over, drop, drop, drop for the road. Because that is 6. So yeah, placing at E1 is going to be the move here for white. So that's attack threat that black has to respond to. Black might be focused on their own threat. Placing a D6 would be an attack threat for black, but if they do that, they will lose. And so they might be looking at that instead. So it would be easy to miss. I know that happened to me a lot of times where oh, they did miss it. They missed the road. So white takes the game here. Black was focused on their own threat. Happens to me all the time where I'm focused on what I'm doing and I forget to look at what the opponent is doing and I think, yes, I'm going to win if I do this. And they think, and they just win. So great play from Ineria, great play from Alpaca. Congratulations to Ineria on moving on to the finals. The next match we're going to see is going to be between TravWest and alpacascreed. They're going to play together in the secondary bracket, and the winner of that match will then go on to play Ineria once again. And if Ineria wins the whole tournament. If Ineria loses, they'll just play another match. So that's how double elimination works, and that's how we're doing it these days. So this will be really fun. Join me on the next one when TravWest and alpacascreed face off. So yeah, that's it. That's all. The game's over. Okay, so thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the links below in the Twitch stream or the YouTube video, wherever you're watching this. And join the TAC community, play TAC online at playtac.com. Check out the Discord server where all the active players hang out and talk about all things TAC and a few other things in the off-topic channels. Check out the TAC subreddit where you can see posts of all sorts of TAC things, homemade boards, which you also see in the TAC Discord server. You can check out the puzzles that are posted every weekday by Encaron from the Didactic blog. And I also post those on my Instagram, which is also linked below, on a physical board, and I post solutions to those as well in videos. So, thanks, folks, for sticking around. Thanks for being fans of TAC. Go out there and play some TAC. And until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.